guys, welcome to another episode of 343. I'm AF, and today I'm joined by the regulars, Jason Ronnie, Wasim Ibrahim, and Mubeen Ahmed. And then a very special welcome to a guy that I've been following for a long while, back to full-time Devils times on the YouTube channel. They now call Stretford Paddock, but even though he's all the way from the USA, he's a regular on that channel. They're a popular Manchester United fan channel. Welcome, John Shin.
Hey, thanks for having me.
Nice to have you on, man. We're all quite excited to get the ball rolling on this one. No pun intended. As is customary with our show, whenever we have a first timer on, we have a little bit of an icebreaker. So, John, what is your single most greatest football memory and why?
That's a great question. I'm gonna start with I'm gonna share two. One, because of course we're all here as Manchester United fans, but also because as a massive football fan, I also keep the South Korean national football team very close to my heart. So two moments in particular. One was, of course, in 2002 in the Korea World Cup when Ji-sung Park, our very own Red, when he first sort of rose into this stardom or started being noticed on an international stage was when he scored his goal versus Portugal. And this was a very stacked Portugal side, mind you. Nobody in their right mind thought Korea was going to take any result versus Portugal. And Ji-sung Park, absolutely world-class finish. Took a chest down from a long ball, took a touch with his right foot, and then volleyed it with his left. It was an unbelievable moment. And then the entire nation erupted. I was in tears, and that was sort of how I came to really truly fall in love with football. But with respect to Manchester United, of course, another Ji-sung Park moment was when Ji-sung Park scored versus Chelsea. I believe it was in the quarterfinal, or it might have been the semi. I think it was quarterfinal because I think we first Schalke in the semifinal in the Champions League, 2010-2011 season. Ryan Giggs finds him with a lovely pass, a dink. Absolutely just rinses the entire Chelsea back line. Ji-sung Park takes the touch, similar fashion, takes the chest touch down this time and just drives with his left foot past Peter Cech. I was in the dorms. I was in college at the time, and I was in the dorms. I remember I was screaming so loud. I smashed my table. I ripped my shirt. I was going crazy, and I had it was called the RA at the time. So basically somebody that like oversees the dorms. She came in. She's like, "What the hell is going on?" I was like, "Get out! I'm full out. I'm going crazy right now. I'm watching football." And I just remember those two moments will always be ingrained in my personal memory.
Yeah, nice one. I actually remember a video that you shared. I think it was last season when I can't remember who scored the winner right at the end, but you just screamed and you shouted so much. And I think it was your grandmother that was in the place with you, and she just like looked so confused about whatever was happening. But yeah, I love to see the passion, and it's amazing.
Actually that moment was also very memorable, but it wasn't as of course, like when you're younger, you have all these memories that you grew up on. That was a fantastic moment as well. It was against PSG. Rashford scored the penalty, and Manchester United obviously advanced. And I screamed and I went crazy. I was actually injured at the time, and I was using a foam roller, and I was so emotional that I just chucked the foam roller, and it bounced. And my grandmother was actually just happened to walk in, and she almost got hit with the foam roller. So she's trying to process what the hell is going on. I'm screaming at the top of my voice, and then there's police officers who come, and they're like, they knock on my door. They're like, "Excuse me, we've heard of somebody swearing excessively, and it looks like they were shouting and throwing things. Is everything all right?" And I looked so stupid. I'm like, panting. It looked like I actually had fought somebody, and I told the police officer, I was like, "I'm actually watching a football match," and they laughed so hard. They were like, "This is you got it. You have to keep it down." But yeah, that was another fantastic moment as well.
Proper football hooligan.
Yeah, it's the moments that we cherish. But we all have a couple of questions for you, so I'll just get the ball rolling on my side, and then we can just go around the panel, and everybody can ask you their question. But yeah, I'm just going to go straight into Manchester United centric news. Also, just a side note, you mentioned earlier that we're all Manchester United fans. We actually aren't. Jason is a Arsenal fan and Wasim is a Newcastle fan.
Oh, I see the shirt. I thought it was a Germany
Yeah.
shirt for a split second. Okay.
Yeah. Yeah. Didn't want to anger everybody early in the podcast and shout that I'm actually an Arsenal fan. So yeah, let's just keep it mellow for a bit. And then we don't want John leaving early now. Finds out he was lured here on false pretenses.
So my question is, do you think that Manchester United is a better team with or without Cristiano Ronaldo?
Wow, that's a heavy meal right there off the start. I thought we were gonna go with like a nice little appetizer. We're going straight into the meal. Okay, cool. All right. It's a mixed reaction. So let's take it from a logical standpoint and an emotional standpoint. And I'll start with the emotional first because that's what I'm good at. I'm good at being emotional. Manchester United re-signing Cristiano Ronaldo has always been something that has been pulling at the heartstrings of Manchester United fans ever since he even left, right? I mean, he's been teasing Manchester United fans with this idea of like, oh, I'll never say no to Manchester United. That's my home. That's my start. He's been teasing us for that throughout his entire time since he's left Manchester United at Real Madrid, even at Juventus as well. He's come back a couple of times as opponents, as an enemy, and he's scored goals against us. And we've had our fair share of, suffering, pain at the hands of Cristiano Ronaldo. But at the end of the day, he's our very own. He's our very own CR7. So him coming back has always been something that Manchester United fans will always accept and love from an emotional standpoint. From a logical standpoint, however, it's a bit of a tough question. It's not easy to say black and white that he's bad. Some fans think that he's bad for us because, especially under Rangnick, we want to play in this sort of aggressive style of pressing and high intensity and high work rate. And Cristiano Ronaldo being 37 is not going to give you that. Even when he was 21, 25, he wasn't the one running around, pressing players. That's not his style of game. He likes to take the ball, dictate the tempo on his own. He likes to take players on and say, look, I own this game. I'm the captain. Nowadays, it's even less so that you're expecting that energy and the work put from Cristiano Ronaldo. So in that case, I understand why some fans might be frustrated. But also at the same time, if you actually watch the games and if you watch the stats and you follow closely as to the sort of the micro details of what's been going on, Cristiano Ronaldo has been denied many times easy assists, especially at the hands of Bruno Fernandes at the end of it, who's missing it. Pogba's missed it. Rashford, who's missed it. So many players around him who've just not done their part in many ways. So from that perspective, you can kind of tell that Cristiano Ronaldo, in the case that they're creating chances, has done well. And yet, other people around him aren't sort of providing or aren't finishing what he's providing for them. At the other hand, you can also look at it and say that Cristiano Ronaldo himself has missed many chances as well. So it's a very mixed result. I don't think you could just kind of sit here and be like, oh, it's his fault that it was a great thing that he signed or it was a bad thing that he signed. I think the fact of the matter is that him signing sort of hindered Manchester United from moving that money into other assets, like, for example, a defensive midfielder. We've been looking and crying for a defensive midfielder for so long, and yet we've still not signed somebody. We've signed Pogba when he was doing dabs and shit. That was like however long ago. Stormzy was doing an intro video, and that was God knows how long. We still don't know where his best position is. We've signed Bruno Fernandes to obviously occupy the number 10. But other than that, we have an aging Matic, we have a questionable Fred, and we have a Scott McTominay who's still not yet looking like he's, sort of honed the role. So we don't have a clear-cut idea as to who our holding midfielder is. And I think that's played a massive dent, whether Cristiano Ronaldo has been a good signing or a bad signing.
Yeah, no, I completely agree with that. But if you look at Manchester United before the turn of the year, Cristiano Ronaldo was playing his part. He was scoring goals. He looked sharp, and that is mainly because Mason Greenwood, Anthony Martial, Marcus Rashford, Edison Cavani, they were all playing. There was a rotation happening, and Cristiano Ronaldo would get the breather that he needed. I mean, I think he's played before the City Derby this weekend. I think he played about 4 games in like 13 days or 12 days or something, which is a lot for a 37-year-old. I mean, he didn't get much time to rest his body. He didn't get enough time to, have a breather, like rest his muscles the way he's supposed to. And I think that's a huge point as to why, since the turn of the year, Mason Greenwood, everything happening with him, Rashford going out of form, Tony Martial being loaned out, and Cavani taking vacations whenever he wants to. I think that's a huge factor as to why Cristiano Ronaldo hasn't been hitting the ground rolling since the New Year period. But yeah,
and if I can just add that maybe we can, if we're to conclude on this point, that like Cristiano Ronaldo signing has its positives and negatives, but in essence, in an entirety perspective, this team has had so many problems across the board. We're looking at it from a personnel perspective, to board perspective, to recruitment perspective. Cristiano Ronaldo's questionable signing could potentially be one of many problems at Manchester United, and you can't sort of pinpoint it or point fingers at just one person, because I think this club has just been filled with problems and filled with holes left, right, and center. That Cristiano Ronaldo signing, I think, if we're looking at it purely from a financial perspective, I purchased the Cristiano Ronaldo shirt as soon as those shirts came up. And I received it like 4 months later. And this is Manchester United's Adidas mega store that like pumps out hundreds of thousands of shirts. Just goes to show that Cristiano Ronaldo, I'm sure if we look at it from a financial perspective later down the line, we'll find out that Cristiano Ronaldo's shirt sales have been absolutely off the charts. And like, these are the ideas that Manchester United are probably chasing for, this idea of like financial gains and things like that. But on the pitch, it's been nothing but a disaster, and it's been nothing but headaches for fans and people involved. And we can understand why Rangnick's out here, looking like he just gained like 10 years. It's just a problem left, right, and center.
John, I was actually trying to get a question across because it's quite related to that, what you were saying. And it's basically with regards, my question is, are the current United squad, are they good enough and perhaps just not caring, or not putting in the hard yards that they're supposed to? Or is it a case that they simply just are not good enough and we need to answer that and face the facts and then try and replace them going forward? So what is your view with regards to the current squad? Because if I look at the way you played on Sunday, there were parts of the game where you played really well and you looked like you could match City. And then there were the rest of the game where, City was streets ahead and they were cruising in second gear for parts of that game. So what is your take with regards to this current Manchester United squad?
The short answer is no, we're not good enough. If you look at Manchester United over the years, if we're comparing Manchester United to Sir Alex Ferguson, Manchester United, we're nowhere near good enough. If we're looking at Manchester United, just purely objectively speaking, in comparison to the rest of the competition, especially maybe with reference to the top six, we're still not good enough. So the short answer is no. I think we're good enough to challenge for top four. I think we have the squad. We've sure as hell spent the money for it. We have the squad to be able to challenge for the top four. You mentioned the game against Manchester City on Sunday. We were miles apart in terms of the level of quality and the playing style. But I think when you're a footballer, when you're an athlete, and I'm not trying to sound like I played in the Premier League, but when you're an athlete,
I don't think you have. I watched the video of Twitter, and your left foot is quite appalling, if I must say. So please do not sign for Manchester United.
Yeah, but when we're talking about actual athletes like Premier League players, the pressure is insane, right? And the amount of pressure that modern players have as opposed to players in the past are completely different. So the fragility of the mentality of players is unquantifiable. So when you're looking at players, that's especially like players that have been through Van Gaal, players that have been through Ole Gunnar Solskjaer, Jose Mourinho, players that have been through all these like tumultuous periods, their mentality is so in tatters. You could clearly see Manchester City. They were messing around, taking one-touch, two-touch passes, making football look so silky and so smooth. I'm pretty sure certain players in Manchester United's side have the capacity or the capability to play in that way. But because of their mental absolute distraughtness, it's not going to be easy for them to rebuild this confidence and rebuild this mental strength. That's why I feel like, yeah, we might not be close to Manchester City in terms of quality, but we at least have that bit to at least push for at least be in top four. Right now, we don't. And I think one of the reasons as to why is because mentally speaking, we're all over the place. They need to repair their mentality. Rashford is a clear example of what Manchester United is like right now. They don't have a clue as to what's going wrong on the pitch. Yeah, we might be creating chances and whatnot, but they're not finishing. These simple chances, some of these chances that they should be finishing, they're not finishing. Rashford is a clear example of that. He has the ball. He could play it simple. But what does he decide to do? He decides to take this Gareth Bale-esque outside touch with his foot and try to sprint with an acceleration distance of like five feet. Like, what is he trying to accomplish in that respect, right? From a microscopic perspective, we have no idea what's going on. And if you're looking at it from a microcosm perspective, that just shows Manchester United's ineffectiveness. So quality-wise, I think we're just awful on all aspects. It's sad. I think if we're looking at it from a glass half full perspective, maybe we are good enough to challenge for top 4. But if we're looking at it just from, is Manchester United good enough? Is Manchester United lacking in quality? Yes, we're not good at all.
Yeah, definitely. I don't know.
John's blood boiling there on the screen. Just like shame. Everything is so passionate coming out from a point of hurt. I can feel it.
The fact that John's still wearing a red hoodie, that says a lot. I'm here in my morning colors, still feeling the loss from Sunday. But yeah, Jason, I don't know if you want to go next or
yeah. Look, John, obviously wonderful to have you here, and this passion that you have for football, it's crazy. My question may be a bit different, but unrelated to football, but does this passion extend to different sporting codes? If so, which ones in the States, outside the States? And if there's a favorite team outside Man United, just, where does that lie? I mean, obviously football's not the biggest in the US, obviously trying to grow the game. So where does your interest lie in like the traditional American sports?
Oh, wow. I appreciate that question quite a lot. Wow. I've not been on a podcast where somebody asked me something like that. That's fantastic. Thank you so much. Let's see. I grew up in America playing American football and basketball. Those are the two sports, obviously the bigger sports here in the States. I fell in love with football as from a spectator perspective, because there's not really many people here that play football. Finding grass fields or even turf fields here in New York City is impossible. You know, when I visited London, when I visited Manchester, there's 5-a-side areas where you can come in and pay and play and things like that, which I found very nice. At least you could play 5-a-side. Here in America, in New York in particular, that's impossible. If you play football, if you have time to play football, you have to wake up, and excuse my French, but you have to wake up in the ass crack of dawn, because from like 6 a.m. all the way till 10 p.m. it's booked by like some team who has insurance, who has a team permit on the field, and you can't even play. So it's like it inhibited me from playing. So I used to play football, and I used to American football, and I used to play in soccer, and I used to get involved with a lot of other sports. But the first sport, of course, just to answer your question, that I really truly watched was American football, and the New York Giants here in America is my team. But funnily enough, maybe it's just my luck, every team that I sport is just ass. New York Giants, completely ass. They're a team that has history, but for some reason now they have, don't even get me started. New York Knicks, another team I sort of support, but I didn't really follow as much as the Giants. But New York Knicks, another basketball team, an institution, mind you. There's teams, New York Knicks are very similar in terms of Manchester United, that from a commercial perspective, they're a powerhouse. They're a team here in New York City, in Madison Square Garden. The amount of revenue that they generate, being a shit team, is unreal. Imagine if they were an amazing team. The money that would be coming in would be crazy. But for some reason, Manchester United and New York Knicks seems to share that identity in that sense. So teams around me, maybe it's me. Maybe I'm the problem, supporting New York teams and Manchester United. But just overall perspective, I think the Giants or the American football thing was something that I really used to watch quite often.
Okay, that is dope. That is crazy. Yeah, that is my question for the segment. Good to hear. Something other than the Man United rant. Shame. Guy was gonna burst the artery or something. Must be talking about it quite a bit.
To be fair, like it sounded like he was going down that same pathway when talking about the Giants and the Knicks as well.
Yeah, so, also Joe, sorry. What a bad question. On that same
Mubeen, you wanna round us off over here?
Yeah. Hi, John. I hope I get this right. Annyeonghaseyo.
Annyeonghaseyo. Yep, you got that right. There you go. Brownie points right there. There you go.
Yeah. So my palate cleanser question probably becomes a lost course for you. So why Manchester United?
Wow. Well, first of all, palate cleanser. That's fantastic. Oh my goodness. You guys just, I was about to have lunch. I don't need that anymore. Fantastic. Thank you for that question. Why Manchester United? That's a great question. I get that question asked quite often. For me, it was a team. Of course, let's look at it. Let's look at it from the facts. At the end of the day, Manchester United are a team based in Manchester. So from beside the geographical connection, I don't really, we as fans outside of Manchester have to find other means of connecting with the team. For me, it was very simple. For me, it was the signing of Ji-sung Park. Ji-sung Park was a player that was so close to my heart, and a team that allowed Ji-sung Park. First of all, Ji-sung Park has had knee issues from a very long time. He was supposed to go to Chelsea under Gus Hiddink when he took over the job from PSV to Chelsea after the Korean national team job. And who knows? Maybe I would have been a Chelsea fan. But for me, the fact that Manchester United and Sir Alex Ferguson, by the way, was still, he was still a force to be, or even around the time when he signed, he was a force to be reckoned with. And for somebody as powerful as Sir Alex Ferguson to trust somebody like Ji-sung Park, for me was everything I needed to support a team. The reason why I fell in love with Manchester United was the reception of Ji-sung Park. We've seen Ji-sung Park get tormented many times at PSV, at Eindhoven. Of course, you know, when things got better, they gave him an amazing chant and whatever and things like that. But Asian players in particular have not found it so easy, especially playing in Europe. There are plenty of players before Ji-sung Park that, you know, tried to make their name or, you know, have their names cemented in the footballing history. Ji-sung Park was the player that really, for me, summed it up in the sense that Asian players have a chance in Europe. And I think Ji-sung Park absolutely cemented that for me. And he was loved and adored by so many Manchester United fans across the world. And I think that to me made me feel like not only is the team and Sir Alex Ferguson and what Manchester United stood for important, but also the fan base. I think that's very important for me as well. I want to know that my supporter base, the people that stand alongside with me when we stand behind the club, I want to know that fan base is willing to be open in terms of appreciating players like Ji-sung Park who aren't Asian players who aren't really large in numbers, especially in the Premier League. So that was very important for me. And then before I knew it, I just started falling in love, visiting the city of Manchester. Of course, meeting the Paddock guys, the full-time doubles team, and that energy that I shared with them, it was so unforgettable. And before I knew it, I was just locked in. I had so many people around me here, especially in college. There were so many, because I attended a university where there was a lot of international students. They were coming from all over the world. And I have people from England, also Liverpool fans, Arsenal fans, Chelsea fans. I have yet to see a City fan, by the way. But those kinds of fans who come and be like, hey, John, why don't you come support this? Why don't you... I almost felt like I was on a show of like The Bachelorette, where like I have all these guys like trying to like seduce me and coax me into supporting their team. I would go watch their games at a bar, like an Arsenal game at a bar, or like a Chelsea game, or games like this, Liverpool games, and I never felt that energy, that connection, as I did with Manchester United. So for me, that's that energy, that connection, that bond, that love, as well as hate, will be eternal for me, at least.
Nice one. Yeah, that's definitely still a bucket list item for me. I know Mubeen's been to Old Trafford already. So yeah, that's something I'm hoping to do sometime in the future as well. But yeah, shifting away from Manchester United now for a bit. Wasim and Jason, I'm just going to give a sort of a blended question to both of you. Both Arsenal and Newcastle have been on the rise over the past few weeks. Do you think they will be able to sustain that form over the next 3 months or so until the season ends? Jason, you can go first.
Yeah, look, it's interesting because it comes into a period now where Arsenal have shown a little bit of consistency, and we've spoken on this channel about how the top four is obviously locked in, with the first two doing really well. Third and fourth is literally just going to be decided by who can be most consistent. And Arsenal have strung some good results together. It's great, all of that. 13 games left. I think we've got, of that 13, we've got like 7 games away from home. So coming back to the consistency thing, I think if we are able to string those wins together, because it seems like we're playing with some real unity. And yeah, I do recall the times where Arsenal were in the current like transitional period, very confusing phase that Man United find themselves in now, where you watch this game because every game you think it could change. You know, it literally just takes that 1-2 games to really change the form, and it sucks the life out of you sometimes, but it's actually been a good few weeks to be an Arsenal fan. And I think many people who see me now, they actually see me wearing more of my Arsenal merchandise, which is once in a while, you have to wear it when you feel proud sometimes. So yeah, going to the sustaining thing, I think we should be good to go, just seeing as we don't have as much other things to worry about. Yeah, so it's literally just league to focus on. So I'd like to believe that we'd be able to stick that fourth in and then just run away with it, hopefully. Fingers crossed.
Yeah, I just want to actually add to that. I've been watching a lot of other like football from other non-Manchester United teams. I just kind of want to see if I can continue to improve. I'm so busy that I really even have time. I barely have time to just watch Manchester United games, but I made it an effort to watch other teams, and I watched Arsenal play Wolves, which was an important game for Arsenal. And as much as personally speaking, as much as I would have preferred Wolves to win, I couldn't help but feel that Arsenal were going to win. The way that they were dictating the game, the way that they were growing into that game, the energy that players like Saka, for me, I love players like Emile Smith-Rowe, players like that who continue to fight and who continue to show the positivity. That's what you want to see on a team that's fighting. And for Manchester United fans in particular, we have every reason to be afraid, because Arsenal right now are on the incline and with conviction. That's the most important thing. That fight. I mean, I've seen over the years how many times Arsenal fans have slagged off Lacazette. That game against Wolves, Lacazette was doing so much to create. And when he scored that goal in the end, I was like, when he got to that point towards the end, I think it might have been an own goal, but I think it was Lacazette who actually finished it. But I remember thinking, wow, this is scary, because the way they were celebrating, the passion and the fight that they had throughout the entirety of the match. Because Wolves side, I think they kind of messed it up on their own end, because I think once they had that lead and once they felt like, okay, this game is kind of getting, being taken away from us, they just completely locked in. And I think it was Arsenal's for the taking. But that energy was so, I was jealous of that. I mean, the fact that Martinelli was flying around the place, the fact that Nicolas Pepe came on and scored a goal, the fact that all these good vibes were happening for Arsenal made Manchester United fans feel a little bit more comfortable. And to be quite honest with you, this fight for Manchester United is going to be difficult, especially in the top four with Arsenal playing so well.
Yeah, definitely. Wasim, do you want to round us off on our discussion today?
Yeah, with regards to Newcastle, I think it's a similar case as to Arsenal. I think it's a club that's going on the up. And with Eddie Howe coming in, I think it took some time, because it's a similar situation to, again, Manchester United, where the mentality of the team was so down that the players had no confidence, they had no tactics, there was no system under Steve Bruce. So when Eddie Howe came in, he needed to slowly, implant his thoughts, his vision for the club, the style of football that he wanted to play. And that took time. But now that it's been instilled in the team, we can see that there's already been some consistency. Unbeaten in 2022, 8 games unbeaten at the moment. So it shows that there's already been some sort of consistency, because we normally play 1 or 2 games and a defeat is around the corner. So I think we can definitely, between now and the end of the season, maintain this consistency. We'll obviously lose a few games here and there, I have no doubt. But I think the fact that he's got the spine of the team very strong now, 2 centre-backs who are playing very well, the full-backs are doing well as well. And then he's got a midfield 3 of Joe Linton, Shelvey and Willock, who are doing exceptionally well as well. So when you've got a spine that's strong and everyone, knowing their role, because I watched a game recently where the striker was covering for one of the wingers who basically went up the field, and just everyone just knows their role now, whereas previously it was kind of all over the show. So I think that should lend itself to see us be more consistent towards now and the end of the season. I think we should be fine with regards to safety for this season.
Yeah.
Sorry, just last point there. Sorry, F. It's that buy-in that Newcastle have, which I feel, to Man United's case, it's partially there. I don't think everybody's bought into Rangnick in the short period just yet, and it seems like there's that half-heartedness in their team. And obviously he's under the short-term contract, moving into a different position, getting somebody else. I think that's definitely what might separate in this next few weeks coming up, is if everybody can just buy into the situation that we are in, let's try and get out of it, let's sort it out over the summer, let's do this and that. I think that would definitely separate, and it could possibly move them into a stronger pushing for, yeah, I mean, there's still Champions League. Nobody knows. Cup competition is very different to league. So fingers crossed for the fans.
Yeah, it's definitely that. Like, I think that's the difference between hiring an interim manager and hiring a permanent manager. Permanent manager you can buy into, you know, he's going to be there for the next 2 to 3 years, barring like bad results. But like with Ideao, I think that they saw a certain sort of vision that is laid out, and I think the players have bought into it. I mean, Trippier got injured, and like even like whatever reserves that they have, they're breaking their back for the team. They putting in the hard yards, and I mean, they, in terms of quality, they aren't the best, but they are hardworking and they get the job done. And I think that's all that you want and all that you need in a relegation scrap. And yeah, I completely agree. I think they escaped the drop, and I think they escaped it quite comfortably come the end of the season. But yeah, I think that's all that we have time for today. That is episode 14 of 343. Don't forget to follow us on Twitter at Sportycast and on Instagram as well. Like and share this video. Leave a comment below. Let us know if you want us to speak about anything. We'll take your thoughts into account. And yeah, hit that subscribe button below as well. Subscribe to our podcast on Spotify as well. Yeah, I'll put the links down below. Share it with everybody that you know. We did appreciate it so much. But yeah, thanks to the regulars, Jason, Wasim, and Mubeen, and a special thank you for John Shin taking his time out from his busy schedule, even though it's the morning over in the USA, getting straight out of bed to come speak to us over here in South Africa. Huge thank you
the
to
ass
you,
crack
man.
of dawn.
Dawn, yeah.
There you go.
Getting involved.
But yeah, any last words from you, John? Where can we find you? Anything that you'd like for people to know?
You guys can find me messing around on Twitter. I'm usually chatting nonsense and just messing around. I'm also on YouTube.
With your left foot.
There you go, with the left foot.
I have to see this clip because that sounds like it's stuff, yeah.
Yeah, but I just wanted to thank you guys. This was a very pleasant, fun conversation. I'm glad that there's non-Manchester United fans here as well. I think it's also very important, as much as it is very important to have conversations amongst fans, whether it be in Manchester or around the world. I think it's also important that footballing fans should be able to talk to each other, in a place like this, that all support different teams. I think it's very important, and I think it helps to grow the game more on a global level. So I appreciate all of you guys. Thank you so much for having me.
Cool, man. Thanks so much.
Thanks for being here.
Luckily, we didn't have our Liverpool fan on the panel today. I feel like that might have gotten out of hand. Nikita, if you're listening.
We would definitely have to chalk out more of his time then. Yeah, because that would have been a little back and forth there, 100%.
Yeah, thanks you guys for joining again. It's always a pleasure. I'm AF4343, and I'll catch you guys next time.